Hello, my name is Emma. I'm a practicing Catholic and I'm also going to a different house of worship every week. So this week we are going to a non-denominational church. Google says it's a mega church, so I will check in with you afterwards. We are back from the service. I will say a lot of that was really fun. A lot of it felt really weird coming from a Catholic background. I guess I'll do a little intro about the church and what I found out about it before I went, and then we'll talk about the service. So this church was founded in 1995 in Cincinnati. I went to the original branch, I believe, and there are a few other branches. There's also online areas. And this one, I noticed a lot of people had their phones out, so I felt comfortable getting a few videos. So I'll show you a little bit of the inside of the church.
And the first thing you're going to do is state your complaint. Just want you to journal a prayer to God about the pain.
So the first thing I noticed was that the emphasis on community was huge. So clearly the lobby area made for gathering before and after services. There were flyers for all sorts of different groups for community and support and wellness. Also, people were so friendly. As soon as I went in there, I was chatting this one lady, asking her a couple questions about the church, and they gave me a goodie bag. It has a water bottle, it has a journal, and I just thought that was so nice that the clear emphasis on evangelization, which clearly I wasn't really there to be converted, but I appreciated just how welcoming it was. So going to the service, the first thing that was super different to me was that the first around 25 minutes of the service was worship and praise. And I've done this in Catholic context, like a lot of the songs are similar, but I just never had that in a service before on Sunday. It was great. I loved the band. I loved how so many people were engaged in singing along. The sermon part was, I guess, about half an hour after the worship part. And this was the part that was super different. So in Catholic churches, and at least the other ones that I've been to, you have readings and then a sort of reflection on them. This one was about half an hour of talking with excerpts from the Bible woven into it. And it wasn't really like a whole chapter or a whole chunk of verses. It would be like one or two verses that supported the main idea of whatever the pastor was saying. I noticed that there was a huge emphasis on personal faith in God, the idea that God is there, God is always loving. Also, this idea of doing that within community. The theme of today's talk was lamentation, so being able to weep with others, but also being able to go through your own sorrows with God and being able to process those alongside Him and knowing that He is with you all the time. So again, great messages. Something that stood out to me was how broad and universal the themes were. This idea that God is always with you, that God loves you, that you should rest in His love, which I think are great. So my question is, how do churches in the non-denominational side, or if they do, how do they talk about issues that are a little bit more detailed, that might be a little bit more controversial? Because I come from a background where all of these ideas are laid out with the support of the Bible, and churches really do tackle these things. Whereas I feel like this one was a much more personal thing where you kind of decide on intricacies and nuances yourself. So I'm just wondering a little bit more how churches approach that, and even if they do. So overall, I think this was a very fun experience. I loved the songs. I thought it was great. I loved the community. I loved how passionate people were. To me, it felt kind of like a pep rally, like a hype session for God and for Jesus, whereas I feel like I picture church as something a lot more solemn. But I think it's great. And honestly, I think that anything that gets people to church and excited about Jesus and about God is a wonderful thing. But honestly, I'm really glad that I went. I'm really glad that I've honestly even been able to see the side of Christianity. I'm very inspired in just this central message of always having faith in God, always knowing that He's present and being able to do that with the community.